I surveyed six-figure photographers in my student community, and I'm going to tell you something that might sound impossible. One of them made their first six figures with only $4,000 in gear. Most did it with less than $10,000 in gear total. Now, I know what you're thinking. That can't be right. Everyone knows you need that new mirrorless camera, the professional lenses, the studio lighting setup. How could anyone charge premium prices with basic equipment? But here's what I found. The gear these photographers owned isn't what got them to six figures. It was how they ran their businesses. By the way, if you're new to my channel, I'm Sarah Petty. I've been running a boutique, meaning high service and print-based portrait photography studio for 26 years. And I've helped over 32,000 photographers create profitable family-first businesses without buying more equipment. Let me show you exactly what this survey revealed. The most common gear investment was between $6,000 and $10,000. One photographer did it with only $4,000. Here's what that $4,000 photographer had. They had a Canon 5D Mark II. Not even the latest model. It was an older one. Three basic lenses, a 70-200, a 50mm, and an 85mm, and they bought most of it used. For lighting, old photogenic studio strobes, a softbox, two Godex 80-200s, and a foldable reflector. The other photographers had similar setups. Most have some version of a Canon Mark III or IV, or a Nikon D750 or 850. Some had mirrorless cameras, not many really cutting edge. For lenses, everyone almost had the same three: 24-70 2.8, a 70-200 2.8, and a 50mm 1.8. Here's what's interesting. Several photographers mentioned they had gear they obsessed over but rarely use. One said she bought a 70-200 and wishes she'd stuck with her 50mm. Another mentioned an expensive lens that just sits in the bag. So what equipment do you really need to have a profitable portrait photography business? I'm going to make this really simple. Number one, you need a camera body that can print large images. Doesn't have to be new, doesn't have to be the latest model. It just has to be able to create beautiful images that can be printed large. Canon 5D Mark III works. A Nikon D750 works. Even older mirrorless models work fine. Number two, a good lens. When I travel, I take my 70-200. That's it, because I don't want to carry a bunch of things. Some people might say the 50mm 1.8. It's affordable, it's versatile, it works in most lighting situations, creates beautiful portraits. A lot of cameras come with a kit lens, which is like a 24-70, which is a good one to have because it gives you flexibility for groups in tighter spaces. And then number three, this is a no-brainer, a reflector. A fold-up reflector costs about 30 bucks, and it's the difference between flat lighting and beautiful sculpted lighting, and light in the eyeballs. So important. Now you might be thinking, what about studio lights or backdrops or all those other things? Friend, you can add those later, but you don't need all of that stuff to start making really good money. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, you might want to get my Gearing Up guide. This free resource shows you some gear you can splurge on, you can save on, or you can really steal. Not literally, for your business needs. The link is in the description. Now here's the part most photographers miss, and this is why you can make six figures with seriously basic equipment. When you're delivering digital files, your clients compare you to everyone else delivering digital files. They can't tell the difference between a $10,000 setup and a $2,000 setup, so they pick the cheaper photographer. But the boutique portrait business model changes everything. I had a client, actually, three of them, that have invested over $50,000 with me. But this most recent client, he and his wife, they never saw my studio. They never asked about my equipment. I was traveling in a different state and I literally had a camera and a reflector. I might have had one extra lens. That's it. But my client didn't care about the gear. They cared about having beautiful portraits of their family displayed in their home without having to figure it out themselves. That's what you're selling, not your camera, an experience. And you help your client choose what goes on their walls before the session even happens. You guide them through the process. You deliver finished art that transforms their home. Here's how it works. Before the session, you have a conversation with your client to understand what they want. You plan the session around what they're going to hang on their walls. You don't have to create hundreds of images hoping something sticks. You're showing them maybe 20 to 25 images that are very intentional that solve a problem that they need fixed. Then you show them those images in an in-person ordering appointment and they choose easily and they invest because you've given them exactly what they need. This is what I call shooting to sell. The chef doesn't cook the food and then ask people what they want to eat. He knows what people are ordering before he starts cooking. Same thing with photography. And when you do this, your average order can quickly rise to $1,000, $2,000, even $5,000 or more. Now think about it. You only need 20 to 30 clients to hit six figures, not 500. That's why expensive gear becomes optional. You're not competing on equipment quality. You're competing on client experience and finished results. Here's what's really happening when photographers obsess over equipment. It's not about the gear at all. It's their imposter syndrome. Many photographers don't feel like a real photographer yet. So you think, if I just had a better camera, that professional lens, knowing everything about every lighting setup, then you'd feel legitimate. Then you'd be ready to charge for your work. I see this all the time. Photographers who delay launching their business, or let's be honest, you're probably charging, but you're not making the money you want. But they're waiting for months and sometimes years because they're researching all the technical things, especially that YouTube University puts out there, comparing lens reviews. All the meanwhile, no one's hiring them. Here's the truth. The new camera isn't going to make you feel more confident because the problem isn't your equipment or your technical skills. It's that you're trying to compete in a market where everyone's doing the same thing. And when you're selling digital files like everyone else, you do need to justify your prices with something. So of course, gear feels like the answer. Better equipment, better skills mean better photos, means higher prices, right? Wrong. Because when you're running a boutique portrait business, your confidence comes from something completely different. Comes from knowing exactly what you're selling and why it matters. You're creating a specific solution for your client's problem. They want beautiful portraits on their walls, and you're guiding them through that entire process. The gear becomes irrelevant. So if you're stuck researching cameras and spending hours watching camera reviews, ask yourself this: are you really waiting for better equipment, or are you waiting to feel ready? Because ready doesn't come from the gear and the technical knowledge. It comes from having a business model that works. So if you're not spending several $1,000s on gear, where should your money go? First, a pro lab. Work with a lab that produces high quality prints. Not Walgreens, my friend. The finished product is what your clients judge you on, not your camera. I personally use White House Custom Color. You can find them at WHCC.com. And if you don't have a pro lab that thrills you, check them out. Second, packaging. When you deliver wall art, it should feel like opening a gift. Nice boxes, tissue paper. The presentation matters. Third, your business systems. A CRM that helps you manage clients. Scheduling software, a process that makes the client experience smooth. Fourth, and I think most important, is learning how to attract the right clients, how to price for profit, how to sell, and really how to serve your way into a profitable business. This is the one that makes you money. And then after you're making money, buy the toys. When my daughter was a runner in track and cross country, I really wanted a 100 to 400 millimeter lens so I could get those shots from across the track or across the cross country course. So you know what I did? I bought it just because I could. It was a legitimate business expense because I used it in my business as well. So I got to deduct it, but I didn't need it. The 70 to 200 millimeter worked just fine. But this is when business gets fun, when you're making money because of your business model, not your equipment, and then you can buy whatever equipment you want. Listen, if you want help making this shift in your business, book a free call with my team to see what that looks like. We'll talk about where you are now and where you want to go with your business and whether we have something going on that's a good fit to help you get there. The link is in the description below.